from September 24th to October 26th. 5 public comment letters were received. The M&D identified 7 areas as potentially significant but mitigable. These included aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, geology and soils, hazards and hazardous materials, and transportation and traffic. Next slide. After the release of the staff report, staff found that a project condition was omitted from the plan development permit and design review resolution. This condition is from the DRC's motion to consider using softer lighting on the exterior of the building site by limiting the maximum kelvins for the LED lights to be 2700 Kelvin. Next slide. Staff has reviewed the project and found that it met all requirements of the zoning code and therefore recommends that the Planning Commission approve the mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring program, the design review permit subject to conditions, and the plan development permit subject to conditions with the additional condition I previously described. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Do we have any questions of staff by the commissioners at this point? Like I said, I can't see everybody, so Vice Chair Comden, Commissioner Zucker, I saw your hand up.
Question I saw in one of the letters that we received. So this clinic, I'm sorry about my baby in the background. This clinic would be replacing a clinic in Oxnard. Is that right? The current VA clinic is in Oxnard, and this is a new. This would be a larger one, and the older one would close.
I believe that's correct, but my applicant team can verify that definitively for you.
Elizabeth, this is Matt Connolly. Can you hear me?
Hi, Matt. Yes.
Yes, this is Matt Connolly with the applicant, Senior Vice President for the Molaski Group. Just to answer your quick question, Mr. Zucker. So there is an existing facility in Oxnard that's approximately less than 20,000 square feet. And this facility is approximately 50,000 square feet that's being proposed and was approved by Congress in 2016 as part of the modernization of VA clinics and community-based outpatient clinics across the country. So yes, that's the long answer to your question, that yes, it's replacing the existing. And so the existing facility and the staff and all the functions will move to this facility.
And the purpose for replacing it is kind of modernization of the building and need for greater capacity, or?
Those are the two primary, and also to infuse the new PAC model and care system that's been modernized within the VA across the country, which is probably 36 or more outpatient clinics of this scale and larger throughout the country.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Comden?
Yes, thank you. I didn't even raise my hand yet, but I do have some questions. Is it our purview? There was a comment from a local trade union asking that the city should require local hire and prevailing wage. Is that the purview of the Planning Commission to discuss that and make recommendations in that way, or what has the history been in the past? If anyone can chime in.
Netta, can you chime in on that, please?
Sure. Vice Chair Comden, Chair Farkas, it is not within the purview of the Planning Commission to determine contracts that are issued for construction of projects.
Okay, very good. There was also discussion about the preparation of an additional EIR. Can you speak to what has been done there and what might have come up at this stage of the game?
Sure, Vice Chair Comden. We also have our consultant team who worked on the mitigated negative declaration that was prepared for this project. And so we're happy to invite them up as panelists to Tracy if we could do that. If you have detailed questions on the M&D, but with our initial study and analysis of the project, it was through that analysis determined that mitigations could be made that would mitigate the impacts that could be potentially caused by this project, and that could be covered through the mitigated negative declaration, and did not see the need for further analysis to do an EIR or an environmental impact report to further analyze the project, given the scale, scope, and existing conditions of the site.
Right. I mean, it looks like a similar use to what had been there before, just maybe an expanded building size footprint. Someone explained to me, I read something, these reports were rather long and they had a lot of information. There was the proposed improvement increased the net imperviousness from 46 to 61%. And I think that has something to do with the amount of rainwater that's captured or something. Can you explain what that means? Anyone?
Sure. And Tracy, were we able to move the consultant team up?
Everybody has been moved over.
Great. Michael Baker, Elizabeth, if you'd like to introduce the consultant team that worked on the environmental document, and then if you could answer Commissioner Condon's questions regarding stormwater analysis.
So available tonight is Jessica Ditto and Alan Ashney. They were the lead consultants on the M&D through Michael Baker, as well as a representative, I apologize, from Stantec, who prepared the traffic modeling and traffic study for this project. They can help answer questions regarding the M&D.
Jessica or Alan, would either of you be able to answer that question for us?
Yes, and thank you for that question. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. My name is Jessica and I'm with Michael Baker International. I managed the preparation of the environmental document. As far as the surface water goes, and we're talking about impervious surfaces, so that would be hardscapes, road, internally, sidewalk, things like that, building. And essentially the analysis was that it does increase impervious surface area. However, we would be capturing more water on site with the proposed infiltration basins. And so there would actually be a beneficial impact in that regard.
Can you describe for us what an infiltration basin does? It sounds like it's a cauldron that captures water. How is that water then used? Does it percolate down? Does it get transported somewhere? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. As you've described, it collects the water as rain falls, and then it does percolate into the ground.
Okay. All right. If I may continue, I have a question. You know, 50,000 square foot, or it's approaching 51,000 square feet, single story roof sure sounds like a great opportunity to put solar on it. And in the reports, it said the electrical use annually is 684 megawatts, which sounds like a lot of energy. I think the average home uses something like 10 or 11,000. So this is multitudes of homes' energy being used at this site. Was there any discussion? I know that subject to California Renewables portfolio, that 60% of the energy has to come from renewables by 2030, but that's 10 years from now. Can we get some understanding as to how decisions like that are made, or if solar was considered?
Hi, this is Bruce Moore with Perkins Eastman. I can quickly answer that question. And this will be part of a slide presentation that I have sent in, that if you want to go to slide 13, could answer the commissioner's question directly.
Do we want to let the applicant do their presentation? Are you comfortable?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Commissioner Condon, and then let them get, and then we can ask questions of them after. Does that satisfy you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
do we have any other commissioners' questions at this point, or should we let the applicant go and then we can grill them when they're done? Are you okay? Okay.
Jennifer, Commissioner Miller has her hand up.
Oh, Commissioner Miller, please.
Apologies, just a real quick question before we move forward. We saw some views from the 101 freeway looking at the building. Can you tell me, is that, from my recollection, is that a vacant lot there now, but behind it, between the existing structure and the freeway?
This is Matt Connolly with the Mulaski Group. The existing old newspaper facility is about in the center. There it is. Thank you. So it's a vacant yard, let's call it, as part of the parking and loading dock area. And then there's a significant amount of grass and dirt on the left-hand side. So you can see it there in the picture, hopefully.
Thank you. That's what I was picturing. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very.
Sure.
Okay, great. All right, perfect. Let's move on to the applicant if we're good with that, and you'll have 10 minutes to present, so we can get them rolling.
Sounds good. Again, this is Matt Connolly, Senior Vice President of the Mulaski Group, representing our single purpose entity, VA Ventura LLC, the applicant. And we are a national developer that specializes in federal healthcare projects and other law enforcement projects for the VA and GSA. So we're very proud to be chosen a year ago, actually September of 2019, through a competitive process of numerous sites, including sites potentially in Oxnard and other developers that controlled those sites or had control of those sites to compete. It was a 1.5 year long procurement, or close to it. Similar to procurements that the VA has had as part of the Choice Act 1.0 and the Choice Act 2.0 that's still ongoing, as a modernization, as we mentioned earlier, of their outpatient clinic facilities and other large-scale facilities. The intent is to bring care closer to the communities for the veterans and the families, of course, that are part of their families, or part of the veterans' families. And this Ventura Oxnard project has been in the works probably since 2014 in the VA to develop the program, to get it ready for the procurement, and to have Congress approve it in 2016. They've approved a 20-year lease project for a developer to own and lease back to the VA. So this is an important project not only for the state of California and the VA, but also the local community in Ventura and Oxnard and the surrounding community beyond those two cities in the county of Ventura. It's similar to projects that have been done in other parts of California. Just recently, in the last few years, there have been similar projects completed in Loma Linda, San Jose, Chula Vista. There's one ongoing in Santa Rosa, Redding, Monterey, Chico, just to name a few. So the process of planning and permitting and other things are very, very similar. There was a mention about labor, which is Cordy, who is our general contractor, will be subcontracting and obtaining the labor force. This is a Davis-Bacon prevailing wage project because it is federal funded. Even though it is a lease project, the VA will be paying the rent for those 20 years. So we're obligated to ensure that we pay the fair prevailing wage rates and be open to the community and all the subcontractors that want to be part of this project and bid it. I'm going to turn it over to Perkins Eastman. Bruce Moore is here to walk you through the project. But before I do, since we were awarded the project in September of 2019, we were originally supposed to complete this in September of 2021, but because of COVID and just the process of getting to this special day, and we appreciate the special meeting here on the 19th of November, we are a little bit under the gun to get the project completed. We have requested a slight time extension as a result of COVID, and I believe the current completion date is April of 22, with likely opening by VA a quarter or so after that. So if there are any questions on those things, be happy to answer them, but I'm going to turn it over to Bruce to walk you through the planning of the project and how it sits on the site.
Thanks, Matt. Good evening, everyone. Netta, would you please go to the next slide, actually the next two slides, actually. I think everyone's seen the site already. Okay, so as Matt mentioned, there's been a lot of thought and consideration given to the campus as a whole, as well as the building and the services provided to the veterans within the building. But as an overall general guiding principle, the intent for this clinic, as well as the others nationally that Matt mentioned, is really to provide very tranquil, very calming environment that will allow the veterans and their families, a healing experience as the VA meets their healthcare needs. As an overarching goal, the VA has taken upon itself a mission to really enrich the veterans' spirits as well as heal the body and the mind, and really has as a purpose-led mission these clinics and the surrounding campuses to be a place of refuge and safety for those veterans who live in Ventura and Oxnard and the surrounding region. Can you go to the next slide, please, Netta? So this is a view of the front entrance as you come onto the site, and we'll walk through the systems of movement here in just a moment. But as mentioned, the building and the campus is really scaled to the surrounding community. Its best face is towards the Ralston Street and in the context and texture of the neighborhood. As mentioned earlier, the building is part of the Wellness District, very proximate to the Kaiser Building, right across the street. So there's some center of gravity there. But we believe the campus and the building really will be a fantastic addition to the neighborhood and be a really good neighbor to the rest of the folks living in the region. Next slide, please. To be respectful of time, you've already seen these. These were studies that we had developed primarily for the DRC to make certain that everyone understood what the building would look like from the 101, and that the same care and consideration that we've provided not only to the front of the building, but we've also carried to the rear of the building as well. All sides of the building really have important and impactful presence around the site. Next slide, please, Netta. Elizabeth had mentioned these, and I'll go into a little bit more detail when we look in the site plan here, but the campus is really intended to, in addition to the other things that we talked about, really be a park-like setting. And so we have set up on both the east and the west quadrants of the site walking paths and engagement areas around the site for not only patients but their families as well to engage in the site while accessing the services of the clinic. As also mentioned by Elizabeth earlier, the top slide is a slide of the outdoor dining area just outside the canteen. So there's lots of ability for indoor-outdoor space and engagement on the campus and the site. Next slide, please. These are just some of the additional comments from the DRC. We can go past those if in the interest of time, but we did address all those for them. This is just the overall site plan, and not to elaborate too much on this, but just wanted to quickly walk you through the logic behind the systems of movement established for the campus. As mentioned, the patients and families access the site from Ralston Street, and all of the staff and service access is off Walker Street, primarily intended to develop an on-stage, off-stage hierarchy of circulation around the site and really disentangle the operational side of the clinic from the engagement side of the clinic with patients, veterans, and their families. And as noted earlier, the walking trails around the campus are on the east and the west quadrant. The west quadrant really is intended to be more active and provide more opportunity for active walking around the site. The one on the east side is really intended to be more tranquil and contemplative for folks that just are looking for a quiet moment on the site. One other quick thing on and you'll see some images of this as we go forward, but one of the intentional organizational elements of the site as we began to place the building was really recognizing the vista to the north and the mountain range, and we took every opportunity to try and recognize that with our lobby space as well as circulation on the site. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick departmental view of the plan, and just to give you a quick reinforcement of the services. One of the most impactful elements of the building is really the comprehensive nature of the services provided. As Matt mentioned earlier, these clinics around the country are intended to be a singular ambulatory center for veterans that have multiple services so that veterans only have to go to one place to access their health care. So within the building is physical therapy, audiology, imaging, primary care, dental, defined women's services, a very robust mental health component, as well as a homeless care component. And it's really intended to be, as mentioned earlier, a significant place of refuge for veterans. Also, as Matt mentioned earlier, to the commissioner's question, the Department of Veterans Affairs and these community-based outpatient clinics are really adapting and adopting state-of-the-art primary care services, and the primary care area, which is the center section in red, is very team-oriented and provides the veteran with significant access to multiple disciplines on their primary care journey. Next slide, please. I'll go through quickly. I know I'm running out of time. Next slide, please. This is just an image of the main lobby as you come in, and you can see where our main feature wall is intended to reflect the mountain range to the north. Further into the vista, you'll see the canteen area. Next slide, please. And this is the canteen area that shows the outdoor seating areas adjacent to it. Next slide, please. And this slide will address the commissioner's question before. From before, the area in green is, this is a roof plan for the clinic. The area in green is reserved for future solar technology. And so everything is in place for that technology to be placed on the roof of the building at the appropriate time in the future. Next slide, please. I'm almost done. This is just a quick view of the elevations of the building, but you've seen most of that through our renderings. And then the last slide, which would be the next slide, please, would be just a quick drill down into the material palette of the exterior. Again, just to reflect the color and texture of the surrounding neighborhood, and again, to try and make the building as good a neighbor as possible. So I'll stop speaking there. I know I've probably used all of the available time, but certainly available for any questions, please.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Commissioner Comden, or Vice Chair Comden, I apologize. Do you have any additional questions or?
I do. Okay. Do we have an estimate of how many car trips? Is now the time to ask those questions?
Sure.
Okay. How many car trips are estimated? There's almost 340 parking spaces allocated. I don't know if that's in total or just for patients coming and their families. Do we have an estimate of how many car trips this is going to put on Ralston Street?
So we do have Stantec here and available from the consultant team to discuss traffic if needed. To be able to answer.
Yes, hello, good evening. This is Daryl Zerfus. I am a principal traffic engineer with Stantec, and we did prepare the traffic study for this project. It would create, this project would generate approximately 1,800 daily trips in total, 142 in the morning peak hour and approximately 160 trips in the PM peak hour, if that answers your question.
Okay, and how does that overload Ralston Street, which Ventura County Star must not have had anywhere close to that amount? I'm just curious what that does since you studied the traffic patterns, et cetera. Is Ralston able to accommodate that kind of traffic?
Yes. We analyzed Ralston a total of off the top of my head, I think we looked at a total of 13 intersections of key intersections in this portion of the city. All intersections continue to operate at an acceptable level of service with this project, both in the near term as well as in the long-range general plan build-out conditions.
Okay.
I'm going to interject on that real quick, Commissioner Condon, just for people if they don't know. When you look at a trip is a one-way. So if they say 1,800, that means there's 900 vehicles. So a trip is one way in, and then a trip is one way out. So just for clarification for anyone.
My final question, if I may, is regarding public transportation. I don't know, is there bus service? I think there is on telephone, but is there bus service on Ralston or Walker Street to make it possible for families or individual veterans to get close enough to the facility? I'm assuming many of the people will be elderly or semi-ambulatory. Can you comment on that aspect of it, the public transportation access? Please.
Again, this is Daryl Zerfus with Stantec. I do not know the exact distance to the nearest transit station. I do not believe there's one in the immediate or bus stop. I don't know if there's one. Believe there's one in the immediate vicinity of the project. And unfortunately, I don't know the exact distance to the closest bus stop.
If I could interject really quickly, this is Jessica Ditto with Michael Baker. The Gold Coast Transit District bus stops are approximately a half mile from the facility.
Thank you, Jessica.
Commissioner Francis, did you have a question?
Yes, just to more like a comment, probably for Bruce, Mr. Moore. When he showed the rendering of the lobby, I couldn't help but notice it said VA Oxnard. Will that be VA Ventura? And if it actually comes to pass, is this facility going to be known as VA Ventura?
It will be known as VA Ventura. That is correct. This is an early artist rendering, and I apologize for Oxnard being there. It really should say VA Ventura.
Thank you.
Nancy's a stickler for those things. She will find all of that.
That's a great catch. This is Matt Connolly. We worked with VA right away to ensure that it would say VA Ventura, and they were certainly pleased and happy with that. And considering it's in the city, that makes a lot of sense.
Great. Now, since I can't see all the commissioners, we have
Commissioner Farkas?
Yes. Please, Commissioner Miller.
Thank you. Just to follow up on the traffic questions, what is anticipated to be the nearest or proposed freeway entrance and exit? Where does the VA anticipate telling people which one to use? Does anybody, the traffic?
That's a great question. It's, do we have an image of that? We're currently in discussions with VA about highway signage, and it hasn't been determined yet, but it's most likely going to be, is it telegraph? A telephone at the 101, is that right, Bruce?
Sorry, it helps if I unmute. Yes, it would be telephone. Please.
Okay, so you would have them going past the facility and then coming back. So entrance and exit to that, you would anticipate them coming down telephone to that street that runs between the commercial center and the apartment buildings there, and then down in front of the police department, and then to the facility. Okay.
Well, I mean, there's flexibility in that. I think that because Oxnard is coming from one direction, Ventura is coming from another, it makes perfect sense to have duplicate signs on the highway to allow people to make their own choice.
Okay.
It's most likely that the Victoria, maybe most likely for Oxnard folks, and coming the other direction, telephone.
Okay.
And we've seen that on other facilities that we've worked on, is whatever makes the most logical sense, especially for distribution of traffic movements. That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. And another question that kind of piggybacks that is, where is the next closest VA facility of this type of service for our veterans?
Oh, that's a great question. Other than the one that's currently in Oxnard, I'd have to get back to you on the nearest one. I'm not with the VA, I'm with the developer, but I can certainly come back to that.
I'm just curious as to what the radius of draw is for this facility, who they're anticipating this. You know, I'm assuming each facility is placed in a geographical area for a certain draw of the population. I'm just curious where the next closest would be. Okay, thank you. And then just one quick question: will there be any inpatient or overnight care at this facility?
There are no overnight stays. This is it's a 6 day a week. I believe it's 7 to 5 or 7 to 6 p.m. So it's only outpatient, where people come, get their service, and they'll leave. There were no overnight stays.
And is it an emergency facility as well, where ambulances will be coming in and out with lights and sirens?
No, it does not have an emergency facility. There may be at times where an ambulance will need to come to the facility to get somebody to take them to an emergency room, but that's usually, hopefully, rare.
Correct, yes, but it won't be like an ongoing emergency room type.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Fabulous.
It'll be like your typical suburban medical office building, kind of quiet.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, go ahead.
This is
Sorry, Debbie?
Commissioner D.
Hi, Commissioner Davis. Please go ahead.
I just wondered if the person who did the M&D has had a chance to see what those latest comments that came in today that were from the alternate traffic study people. I think it was it was somebody local that had worked with the commenter from the public, from the Carpenters Union, who talked about they were kind of making statements about the car travel calculations, and I wondered if there was if they'd had a chance to see those and had any kind of response to how they were looking at the calculations differently.
Yes, and thank you for your question. We did see those comments that came in yesterday afternoon from the Carpenters group, and they're based on VMT analysis. And so, Daryl, if you're able to address the question, that'd be great.
Yes, certainly. Again, this is Daryl Zerfis with Stantec. We received the comments yesterday afternoon and did make a pass through to review them. A number of comments on the VMT analysis, like what was just stated. I think we could summarize them really into 4 categories that the commenter was focused on. One of which was related to the methodology that was used to calculate the site-specific VMT levels. The process we use is we start with VMT data that comes from the Caltrans travel demand model, which Caltrans developed VMT factors specifically for use in environmental studies such as this. And then we apply site-specific adjustment factors to account for the specific location of the project. And doing so, we used factors and methodology that is developed by the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association, referred to as CAPCOA. That is quickly become an industry standard as VMT analysis has become the new standard for environmental health studies. It is well documented, well substantiated methodology, and it would stand up to a high level of scrutiny. Those comments related to those adjustments would not change our findings whatsoever for this analysis. There was another comment related to the Oxnard facility and whether or not the Oxnard facility would be closed, because that does affect the distance people would travel. If that facility is closed, the people that live closer to that facility would now be driving to this facility. But that also would not have an effect on the findings of our analysis, because this, as was stated earlier, this facility is going to be much larger than the Oxnard facility, and they're going to be providing a number of services that currently can't be obtained in Oxnard, and people have to drive to Los Angeles, to the Sepulveda or the West LA VA office for those types of services. And by providing that here, that would greatly reduce the amount of travel that the veterans would have to drive to obtain those services. So that is still a VMT reduction compared to what many people have to do right now with the Oxnard facility. So that comment also does not change the findings of our report. And I think, just to sum it all up, overall, we've looked at the calculations that we've made. We've done a sensitivity analysis. Our VMT calculations, even if we could be as much as 25% overstating the VMT reductions here, and we would still be making a finding of less than significant impact. So we have quite a bit of buffer between where we're at in our analysis and what would actually be triggering a significant impact here.
Okay, thank you. I think maybe this would be Elizabeth, the planner, that the Ventura County Air Pollution Control Board did review the findings of the traffic study and had no concerns with their statements, right? Didn't they concur? I thought.
Correct. Yeah, I believe that's a response to comments letter. in the package, and
Yeah.
they agreed. They
Okay.
concurred with the report.
Okay. Thank you.
Wonderful. Commissioner Zucker or Commissioner McCarty? Oh, Commissioner Zucker, I see you have your hand up first. Please go.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask the developer if there have been any conversations with our local carpenters who submitted that letter around project labor agreement or community benefits agreement that might involve local hire or kind of the green building standards that they mentioned.
Hi, this is Matt. The green building standards, of course, we meet all the California codes, but the VA, through the requirements of our lease, require that we achieve 2 green globes, which is similar to LEED. That's a major priority for them. So that's on top of all the other sustainability requirements that we have that are part of California and the VA standards. Regarding the labor, as I mentioned before, the VA, similar to all the other projects, including those in California that are leased construction projects, are required to be Davis-Bacon prevailing wage. And typical throughout the entire country is to ensure that the subcontractor community is open to allow all bids to compete and have an opportunity to get the work through our general contractor coordinating. So that's in the spirit of all VA projects, that try to keep it open, but make sure that, and we have to comply with the prevailing wage minimum on this project.
Thank you.
Jane?
Commissioner McCarty? Yeah. Oh, Commissioner Francis, go ahead.
Oh, that's good. I'm curious to know, on the site plan that we have up on the screen right now, what is the gray structure to the east of the primary building? And it's in the calm area, landscaped area, but there's a gray, yeah, that guy. What is that? I couldn't read it on the site plan.
It's additional landscape, low landscaped area. It's not a building component. It's ground.
Okay, because it's colored as the same color as the building, and it's not a landscape color.
Yes, it's intended for ground cover. So
yeah, thank you.
Apologize for that.
Commissioner McCarty, you're the only one we haven't heard from, and I can't see you, so I just want to check and see if you have any comments before we go into the additional public comments.
I do not have any questions, but as a veteran myself, I would like to say that this is a very worthy project for the community. I think it's been well designed, well presented, and I think issues that have arisen in the reports that I've read have been also well mitigated to my satisfaction. I'm fully in favor of this project.
Okay, thank you for that. We're gonna wait and we're gonna finish the public hearing, and then we will absolutely get to all those comments. But thank you very much for those comments now. So I think we should open it up for public comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Yes, we do. We have 3 public speakers.
Okay, we'll give those speakers each 3 minutes. So if you want to get them lined up.
All right, Danielle Ford, you are unmuted.
Hi. Now, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hey. My name is Daniel Ford. I am a member of the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. I'm a local resident of Ventura, and I live on the east end near this proposed project. I feel that me and my kids will kind of be negatively impacted by this project. There's a few things that I feel will impact us. One really is the increased traffic in this area. It's crazy, especially down Saratoga and that Ralston area. It is crazy, and adding more things to this area really will impact this area. I also have looked into the project's environmental impact report, and I don't think it really addresses stuff to my satisfaction. One, it fails to demonstrate a less than significant impact regarding the greenhouse emissions, and I'm also not seeing that there is a health risk assessment study. There may be one, I'm just not finding it. I also think that the city should require phase 1 and 2 environmental site assessment and adequately analyze and mitigate the project's significant hazards and impacts. The city needs to adopt mitigation measures for significant noise impacts in this area too. You know, some of us live in that area and we just keep adding more and more stuff and it gets louder and louder and louder. So I also feel that if this project does happen in our area, it should have a local hire clause. I understand that does have federal money in it, so it will be a prevailing wage project. You know, but I think the people around here should do the work because this is where we spend our money. We're going to be building this facility and putting our money back into this community. So I would love to see a local hire clause if this project does go. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Let's move on to the next one.
The next speaker is Anthony Ventura. Anthony, you are unmuted. Anthony? All right, Anthony, we are unable to hear you. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next speaker. We'll come back to you. And Madam Chair, we do have an additional speaker as well. Next up is Augie Navarrete. You're unmuted, Augie.
Hello, good evening, commissioners.
We can hear you.
Okay. I'm a Army veteran, and I'd like to see a VA clinic going up, but as Dan Ford was saying, like I'd like to see as well. Excuse me. Silent. I would recommend that that you reassess the measures taken, and I would also require, or sorry. Give me 1 minute.
Is Augie still connected?
No, actually, I was just going to say he just dropped off the call. So
Okay, let's move on to the next one and see if we can get him back on. And we'll give him 2 minutes when he comes back.
okay, and besides, I'll try Anthony again, but I do have Richard Gagne after that. So let's try Anthony. Anthony, you are unmuted.
No, he's on it. He just keeps choking.
Hello? Anthony?
Yeah, I think so, dude.
Anthony, can you hear us?
Yeah, they're calling me.
All right, I'll go ahead and Richard, you are unmuted. Richard? All right, I will try Anthony. I think I heard him talking in the background, so.
I'm here.
Hi, Anthony, you are unmuted.
Yes. So I would just like to concur of what Mr. Ford had said. I'm a resident here myself. My son resides here. My daughter-in-law resides here in Ventura, and pretty much what Daniel said. I live in that same area. It's not that I'm so much really against a VA, but I just think that there needs to be more of an environmental impact looking into this, because that is a very congested area, and I just feel like there's going to be a lot of high traffic in that area, and I think that it needs to be looked at before anything proceeds. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, Madam Chair, I would like to try Richard one more time.
Yes, please. I want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to speak.
Richard, you are unmuted. Richard?
Okay, so how about we close the public hearing, we have some discussions, and Madam Clerk, if people do come back on, if you could interrupt me, please let me know, and we can open up the public hearing again.
Okay.
I think it's important to have everyone speak, but I also want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Okay, I do have a chat from Richard. He said that he wants to speak. I have a technical area with my mark, so I'm guessing he's having a little bit of an issue. Richard, I would suggest you log off and rejoin the meeting and see if we can connect that way.
Could he call in?
Yes, he can call in as well.
Do we want to take a 2-minute break and let that happen, or do we want to just be patient? I want to take it out to the commissioners and see how they feel about this. Anyone?
Let's stay online and wait for him.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could transmit the phone number he would call into, that might expedite things.
I'm going to just go ahead and announce the number. To join the hearing through telephone, it is 1-408-418-9388. Access code 126-334-7888. And that information can be found on the first page of the Planning Commission agenda as well.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Richard, I see you joined again. Can you hear us? Okay, he still cannot, but I have not seen a phone number come in yet either. Oh. Okay, he's asking for the number again. It is 1-408-418-9388. Access code 126-334-7888. Madam Chair, I also have someone who had typed some comments and I've asked, I would like to unmute her and see if she'd like to speak. Her last comment, I'm not quite sure. So while Richard is trying to get on, I will.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Martha, I've unmuted you.
Hi. Okay, I'm trying to talk. See if it's picking up. Are you hearing me?
We can hear you.
Oh, yay. Okay. First of all, thank you so much. I was impressed with hearing all the work and watching the presentation. I'm a resident across the street from the new proposed site, so I'm a resident of what's known as Orchard condominiums over here. And I would be very interested to see where I could find more access to the traffic study, as we have noticed in our area traffic that is continuing to grow before this project. Particularly, we noticed getting out of our area on Glacier onto Ralston is very problematic in the morning and the evening, which is kind of when I understood the trips might be more prevalent. I don't know. So that is just a real concern. We want to include this good project and all that the veterans deserve for sure, but we do really want to make sure our traffic flow here isn't even more impacted than it seems to have been. So that's my primary concern. My secondary concern is and I'm not an engineer, but it's interesting that we would only provide for solar panels instead of at the beginning of the project actually install those panels. I can't believe it would be more cost effective to wait. And it just seems that with what everybody's going through and wanting to work well with energy, that now would be the time, not something that we defer for a later idea. So that's just what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Okay, I believe I have Richard as a call in.
Richard Gagne.
We can hear you.
Great. Can I go ahead?
Please
yes,
do.
Please go.
Hi, this is Richard Gagne. I'm also a homeowner in Orchard Lane. I am a Navy veteran, 1976 to 1980. I was a Navy dentist. I am looking forward to this facility. I think it's a great plan. I walk by this every morning. I have listened to the DRC comments. And it's going to be a great plan and a great adjunct to the healthcare for veterans in our community. This site has been vacant for, I would think, about 20 years. And it has been an eyesore. It is continuing to be an eyesore. There have been multiple projects that have failed to be located in this site. And I am really looking forward to the VA bringing their facilities here. However, in talking to several members of our board, we are concerned with the traffic at the corner of Ralston and Glacier. Glacier is the main entrance to our project. All the UPS and other services come into this. But the main problem is when we are leaving our project, Ralston makes a turn, and the cars are coming very, very fast, and it is very dangerous to cross that street, very dangerous to make a left, dangerous to make a right, and dangerous to cross the street because Ralston makes the turn. You can't really see the cars, and they're coming very fast. So I would like to ask the commissioners and also on the traffic study if they've looked at the possibility of a four-way stop at the corner of Glacier. I listened to the program today. They're looking at 1,800 daily trips, they're looking at 142 in the AM when most people are leaving our project. And I think that the commission needs to look at a four-way stop at this. And I think a four-way stop would be more than adequate to protect us, and I don't think it's going to be an imposition to the veterans coming in, especially the ones that are coming from Santa Barbara, that will be coming onto Ralston into the project. So that's the end of my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Madam Clerk, are there any additional comments that come up?
There are not.
Okay, well, we'd like to thank everyone for that. I am going to close the public hearing. Unless the applicant wants to give a rebuttal. Does the applicant team have, a couple minutes that they like to rebut any of the comments that we've heard today, or you feel adequate that they were addressed?
They were all very good comments. I don't have anything further to add to those comments.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, appreciate that. Okay, now I'm going to close the public hearing and let's bring this back to the commission and for discussion. Does anyone want to start? Commissioner McCarty, please go ahead.
Sure. No, I just want to reiterate my previous comments now that the time is appropriate. I think this is a very worthy project, wonderfully done, and I really don't have any big concerns about it. I'm in favor of it.
Thank you very much for your comments. Well, I can see Vice Chair Comden. Do you have any comments that you'd like discussion items?
I always have comments. Could you put the slide up at the, oh, there we go. Glacier Avenue, Ralston. Yes. I've driven that road enough to know that Ralston is sensitive because of the bends and the speed. I don't know what the speed limit is on Ralston, but I could see how people entering and exiting that condo complex across the street could be mildly impacted by this. How much, I'm not sure. We discussed which freeway exit would be appropriate. First of all, I don't think there's a southbound 101 exit to Telephone, is there? I don't think there is. So Ventura residents will be coming down and either getting off on Victoria themselves or taking surface streets to Telephone, making a left, going down to Ralston, making a right.
Commissioner Comden, if they may, they would exit Main Street there.
Right.
That dumps off right there.
Main Street, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. And the fire station, and make a left and then another left onto Telephone. That's true. So I, because we have those two freeway exit opportunities, I do think if we can somehow cause traffic from the south to get off at Victoria and use that, they would have to come up the freeway adjacent street and make a right on Glacier or whatever the street that has the police department, which would not impact Ralston. If we could try and bifurcate the amount of traffic coming down Ralston from Telephone, that might be helpful to this traffic conundrum. Because I do think there's going to be some impact. I'm not an expert on these things. I'll leave it to the experts to say that it's not likely to cause a lot of trouble. But three of the comments that we just heard revolved around traffic and how it will affect them. I think it looks like a very good project. There is no perfect location for this, but it looks like it's a great reuse of this parcel for a very important purpose that's much needed. It looks like it's expanded from what the Oxnard facility can now accommodate. I like almost every aspect of it. And so with the caveat of if there's some way to mitigate all of the traffic coming down Ralston, I'm very much in favor of this.
This is Commissioner Davis. I have a question, a comment.
Sorry, Commissioner Davis, go ahead. Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, related to the traffic, I was wondering if there was consideration of having a secondary drive access off of now I'm forgetting, not Glacier, but the other the one off Saratoga. If there was a second one off Saratoga, I don't know if there was something to do with the grading on that side. I mean, I think that the newspaper, I think their access was off. I think theirs was Saratoga originally. So if there was a secondary, it'll take it would take some of the parking spaces away, but I didn't know if that was looked at or if it was a grading issue and if that would help with splitting up the impact of all the load off Ralston. I wasn't sure if that was considered. I mean, that seems like that could help, but it might be grading. I'm not sure, but I besides that of a consideration of possibly trying to alleviate all of the load of the cars on Ralston, although I know it's the intention, I'm sure, is that the employee parking is in the back off Walker Street, so that would help. I think it's a great project, and it's in a pretty low impact area. There is the one residential area there, the neighborhood, but it is on the very small portion of it. So it seems like a project that's needed, and I know that they're held by much more stricter green standards as the developer said, the Green Globes, because of the federal money. So I would support the project as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Miller, did you have questions or comments?
I would just comment that I'm hearing the residents of the area as to their concerns with the traffic, and just to add on to what Commissioner Davis said, there is the residential area across the street, but there's also the residential up on the other side of Ralston that would be impacted. Ralston going towards Victoria, there's a number of condominium and apartment complexes in that area, and I think we've heard, the concern from citizens there about the speed, the number of cars, especially at those most impactful times of the day when people are getting children to and from school, to and from work. And so a project of this size in that area does concern me. That concern is also weighed against, though, the very important function that this facility provides for our veterans. And I think it would be a very good thing for the city of Ventura to do our part for our veterans. But I am concerned that not enough attention has been given to traffic impacts, not only with the private car trips, but also with, I believe one of the consultants stated that the Gold Coast nearest stop is half a mile away, which if we're talking about veterans who may be disabled using public services or older veterans using public services to get to and from the facility, I think it would be important that it be looked at that we have public transportation options much closer to the facility. I think that would be a natural fit. And I'm not sure what sort of work has been done towards that, being able to provide those services to our veterans who need to use the public transportation to receive the services. And then I also question why Walker Street was not utilized further in terms of trying to reduce the impact of car trips in the residential area. Because if people are coming from north or southbound, northbound's going to impact because that exit off Main Street there, that's already a very congested intersection there at the underpass of the freeway entrance to the 101 South, the telephone, and Main Street there. So I think in each of these projects, my concerns are about traffic, and in particular, a big project like this in a pretty dense residential area. That's a concern, but have to weigh it against the positives of this project. And so this is a tough one. I would like to have seen more traffic studies done on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Francis, please.
I was just so excited to have a project come before us that I could embrace completely. I think it's great that we will have this facility available for us in Ventura. And I appreciate the comments about the traffic, but I'm not sure that it's the type of use where people kind of dribble in and dribble out. And I'm sure that the peak hour traffics have to do with staff and whatnot arriving. And it's nice that their entrance is more or less off of Walker. Appreciate the concerns, but I also respect the work that the traffic engineers have done. I'm thrilled about it. I'm happy to support it. Can't wait to get it here in town. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Francis. Commissioner Zucker, do you have any comments? No.
You're muted, Commissioner Zucker.
Sorry about that. I'd echo what other commissioners have said about the important function of this project and the services it'll provide locally. I certainly would like to see any publicly funded project have a project labor agreement with agreement to hire local labor. I no, that's not necessarily our power to mandate, but I would certainly encourage the developer to do that. And I would say that the concern that I have from a planning perspective is around the transit accessibility. I mean, I think this has potential to be a major benefit to many of our local veterans, but I do worry about some of our most vulnerable veterans, those with disabilities, and certainly that's a significant population among our veteran community, and that the Oxnard location is very much along a major transit corridor right now, and very transit accessible, and that this location is significantly less so. And so that would be my biggest worry here.
Thank you very much for your comments, Commissioner Zucker. I've got a couple of things to say. I just think this is such an important project, and that we really have to give back to the men and women who have dedicated their life to protect us, to the veterans. I just, it means so much, and it looks like it's a beautifully designed facility that they went through the DRC process and really, looked at what was needed for the veterans. I know that this is going to go through a competitive bid process, so we can't ask. I just don't believe in asking to have a local hire agreement in any sort of conditions or anything like that. I think that's just really overstepping for us as commissioners to do that, especially since they will be through a competitive bid process. And I am going to make a couple comments. I was disappointed that Mr. Tsai, who was the attorney, did not speak publicly on this, and because we've had so many projects come before us, this commission recently, who have, gone through the environmental process and been the same for everybody. And we haven't had any real issues. And I had a question for him as, could he please explain why they were focusing their attention on this particular project? Because this is such an important project for Ventura. It doesn't sit very well with me for that the unions are focusing on hitting a project that's going to be so important to so many veterans. And I have a real issue when CEQA is used as a weapon instead of a tool. It's a tool to look at projects. So we'll get off my horse on that, my high horse on that, but it's very disheartening for me to see something like that come through, especially with a project that's so needed for this. So I will also be supporting this project, and I would like to take it out to the commission to see if we have anyone who'd like to make a motion, or Commissioner Francis, I see your mouth moving, but I don't.
I didn't want to jump in ahead of Commissioner Scott if you wanted to make the motion, and I'd be Commissioner McCarthy.
Sure, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve this project as presented by staff.
Thank you, Commissioner McCarty, and Commissioner Francis, you second that?
Yes, I second that happily.
Okay, fabulous, fabulous. All right. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Francis?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Zucker?
Yes.
Vice Chair Comden?
Yes.
Chair Farkas?
Yes.
That motion
So
carries.
that motion passed. Thank you all very much. Again, I really, really appreciate everyone's discussion items. I think everybody's points are all very important, and hopefully during the development process, they can work with Caltrans or whoever it is that they need to work with, and maybe get a bus stop or some public transit moved closer to the site, because it is absolutely needed.
Jane?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner, Chair. I was also just quickly looking online, and there are services for seniors and disabled that are offered through Gold Coast and whatnot, even down to even a taxi service for wheelchairs. So I do believe that there are some options there that can also be investigated in order to be able to get people so they don't have to walk a half a mile from the bus stop.
Thank you, Commissioner Francis. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's very important. So thank you. All right. Well, congratulations, and I really look forward to seeing this built sooner, and that we can help out our veterans who've been so wonderful to all of us. So I think this is great. I'd like to move on to staff communication. So Netta, do you have anything you'd like to say, and then we'll put it out to the commissioners?
Thank you, Commissioner Farkas. Just that the next meeting of the Planning Commission will be December 9th. The regular scheduled meeting of November 25th will be canceled as that is Thanksgiving. And December 9th, we will be holding a hearing of the Planning Commission, and that should be the last hearing of the Planning Commission for 2020.
All right. Great. Do we have any commissioners who'd like to speak up? Commissioner Miller, please.
I just wanted to, I had a question posed to me by a member of the public, sent me an email asking me why so many of the Planning Commission meetings had been canceled this year. And I don't have an adequate answer for that citizen. Would someone be able to address that so that I could ensure that their question is answered?
Sure, I'm happy to do that, Commissioner Miller. We schedule the Planning Commission meetings as needed as there's projects ready for the Commission to act on. We have set up our regular schedule for the Planning Commission to have 2 meetings a month, but in reality, typically we only need to meet once a month. We do the 2 meeting options so there's flexibility as projects are ready for Planning Commission, that we don't want to hold them up excessively in time if it works better to do an early on meeting or a later in the month meeting, which is why we leave the 2 meeting a month option open. And so what we are averaging is 1 meeting month of the Planning Commission for you to hear items and then canceling the 2nd meeting of that month. We did have a period of time because of COVID where we did stop having the public meetings until we went to the virtual platform, and that did result in a few months where there were not meetings held in 2020.
Thank you, Ned. I appreciate that.
Anyone else for the good of the order? I can't see everybody, so speak up if we.
I wanted to ask staff if there was any updates on the status of the inclusionary housing ordinance for the city being updated. I know that's kind of been in the works for some time, and certainly is relevant to the projects we're approving.
Peter, would you like to respond to this question?
Sure. At this point, because of the general plan and other tasks, the inclusionary housing ordinance is currently scheduled to be completed after the housing element is adopted at the end of 2021. So that's the target date.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, just to express that I'm disappointed in that, and I think when I joined the Planning Commission, I think staff said it was in process and would hopefully be done within the year. It's been considerably longer than that. I think every residential project that we approve without that inclusionary housing ordinance, we lose affordable units that we could be getting from developers, and so I'm sorry to hear that.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Zucker. Anyone else have anything they'd like to contribute? Well, I'm gonna then say, I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful Thanksgiving, and that you get to enjoy your families, whether it's in person or via Zoom or phone calls, that everybody gets to at least have some communication. So please be safe. Please enjoy yourself, and we are going to adjourn. So thank you all very much for all your input again.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah.